Welcome back to the show, everybody. What is going on in the world of crypto? Well, somebody roll that beautiful intro so we can find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, it's 51 cent XRP. It's ranging between 50 and 51 cents. We'll take a look at the chart before we get out of here. Today, the market cap is sitting at $2.38 trillion. We're off by 1.3, 61,600 plus for Bitcoin, 2,800 plus, almost 3,000 for Ethereum here. And we see $110 billion plus market cap for Tether. XRP again at 50 cents. We're off by 0.3 in the 24 and off by 5.6 on the 7-day. Everything is off, obviously, this morning. But you know what? This isn't, and it's private equity at Link 2. And listen, I know you hear me talk about this all the time, and I still know that there are a lot of you out here that are like, I don't want to go through the headache of signing up and registering. But the reality is it doesn't take long. It only takes a few minutes. And this is a remarkable opportunity. And these things go very quickly in here. And I want to remind you that these things that I'm talking about also happen to end up on like the CNBC's 2024 CNBC top 50 disruptor companies list. Yeah. And there's stuff I just saw, just glanced. I literally just glanced, right? And I see Flutterwave. I saw Zipline is on there. I mean, my goodness, it's crazy. There's tons of them on here. So there's Stripe is on here. You can get all of this private equity before it has some form of public exit on Link 2. That's the kind of opportunities we're talking about every day. So don't let it go by you. Take the moment, take the 5 minutes to really open the door to changing your life when it comes to investing, no doubt. You do have to be accredited, but click the link to my sponsor below and find out just how easy it is to get access. Now, I want to shout out to the Digital Chamber. This is where I got the Leadership Award a couple weeks ago here, but I want to say to everybody, I will be moderating a panel with Carlos Domingo from Securitize. I am super excited to sit down with Carlos. We've had some communications leading up to the event tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. I will be doing that tomorrow. I'll try to bring that to you as soon as I'm able. Okay, let's get into this. There was a Twitter space. I went and listened to it about XRP Ledger Grants. Now, we know that getting funding for developers in this space and builders has been a big conversation as of late. I've brought some people in to my world and the corner of the channel that we're at here and talked about this and tried to understand this dynamic here. And there's a difference between, grants, which is free money given to developers and or builders, which Ripple has a Ripple X and then the XRP Ledger Grants, right? Obviously program. But there is a code of conduct here that talks about really your behavior, disrespectful, discriminatory, harassing, those kinds of things play a major role in whether you can get funding or not. Well, there is a lot of that happens in this space. And you have to understand that there is a code of conduct that's being looked at when there's some of the reasons. And that was what was said, actually. The speaker said one of the big reasons for rejecting these grants is a violation of code of conduct. And there may be many the builders who have completely overlooked this, which one would think is common sense. I've personally listened to many multiple violations of this in spaces. There's no question, look, I mean, there's got to be a certain decorum and respect. You're wanting free money. It's going to require you to show a little gratitude and humility, right? Is what it's looking like here. So, I think this may open the door to a lot of opportunities right here, right? Just everybody taking a step back and making sure that you're not projecting some kind of image of yourself or your young business that appears to be entitled and demanding these things, instead of showing humility, grace, and gratitude about the opportunity to have a conversation to possibly receive these things. So there'd be a huge difference, right? There's a huge difference between those things. By the way, I'm intending to follow through and have meetings on the matter itself so I can learn more about not only what could be done to open this up further, but to also find out what I can do to create more avenues and resources for companies who may be ready to take a much bigger step in that direction. So we're going to work on all angles here. There's no question about it. And one of the biggest angles that I'm working on is being in DC tomorrow at the DC Blockchain Summit so I can help meet and educate as many people inside of DC as I can to get regulatory clarity and legislative clarity out of the way so we can see massive amounts of money come into this space. And then it won't be hard to get money from one place. It'll be easy to get it from a lot of places. And that'll tell us that we really have a full court press and an all green go ahead for crypto because we have the legislative clarity we need, and tons of money will come off the sidelines. Make no mistake about it. But until then, let's take a look at this because the current financial system is on the brink of a fallout, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the Bank of Canada as they warn of such measure.
Some indicators of financial stress have risen. At the same time, the valuations of some financial assets appear to have become stretched. This could increase the risk of a sharp correction that could generate system-wide stress.
Now listen to the next part as he talks about reaching outside of the banking system for help to minimize the amount of time of this stress.
The recent rise in the use of leverage in non-bank financial institutions.
The recent rise and leverage of use of non-bank financial institutions
could amplify the effects of such a correction.
Could amplify the effects of such a correction. He's pointing to non-bank financial institutions with the technology that could help minimize the damage of such a severe correction. And by the look on his face, that look right there is telling me he believes we got one nightmare of a correction coming. I hope I'm wrong. We got to touch this one more time today. Shout out to Brad Garlinghouse. He stood his ground as he should have. He didn't say anything wrong. Now, this interview, and I'm only going to play a few seconds of it. Take a listen.
Do I think there's going to be another black swan? Of course, 100%. I just don't know exactly what it is. The only one that's going to be an interesting one to watch, and I don't even know if I call it a black swan because I feel like black swan by definition can't really be, it's like predicted. Oh, didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
The U.S. government is going after Tether. Like that.
There you go. And there it is. Now, he did say that, but then we saw the CEO of Tether come out and bash Brad, calling him uninformed and all of the rest of it that we know we covered yesterday. However, Brad came in and said, hey, I wasn't attacking Tether. The next words out of my mouth during the podcast were that I view Tether as a hugely important part of the ecosystem. My point was that the U.S. government has clearly indicated that they want more control over USD-backed stablecoin issuers, and thus Tether, as the largest player, is in their line of sight. And you know what? It is exactly what he said.
That is clear to me. I view Tether as a very important part of the ecosystem, and I don't know how to predict
the impact that will have on the rest of the...
Right.
There you go. But you know what I take away from it? Because we've been talking a lot about Tether in this channel, at this channel also. And the fact that we're aligning with Brad's observations of the market currently in the current conditions makes me feel that we're paying attention and we're looking at the right things, because he's looking at it too. He's getting the spidey senses that we're getting. And I've not tried to predict what will happen. Will it go hard? Will it go light? I don't know. We've examined different ways it could go, but we don't know. But one thing's for sure is we are seeing the same thing that Brad Garlinghouse is seeing. The U.S. government is targeting Tether. And I have gone further to say that I believe it is simply because we know that the Federal Reserve, a private central bank controlled and owned by rich families, right? We all know the story behind the Fed, right? Is upset as the U.S. government is that someone like Tether has decided to sell the only product that the Federal Reserve has ever had, which is dollars. The fact that they're digital doesn't give you a free pass. Now, coming back to this, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain central banks eye central bank digital currency to improve cross-border payments. On the face, you say, well, no kidding. Yeah, I get it too. I'm showing you this because this is going right back to USD Tether. You know, we heard Bernard Bernanke say at an event that Brad Garlinghouse was at, and he said clearly that the governments around the world will roll out the tanks in the streets before they allow some decentralized private entity to take over dominance of money in this world. And he's absolutely right. And that's what this is about with USD Tether being targeted by the U.S. That's what this is about Saudi Arabia and Bahrain in the Middle East kicking up to improve cross-border payments using digital instruments like central bank digital currencies. Of course. Why has the market not taken off? Why has XRP not taken off? Well, because the world isn't using CBDCs every day. Because the world isn't using stable coins the way they need to under prudential regulation. It is pretty simple. The fact of the matter is it's been so long, the same question, same answer, that a lot of people want to make it something else now, but it isn't. The answer we need is still the same, and it's the answer we need for everyone in the market, not just speculators, not just builders, not just innovators and the rest of it. It is for the entire market. Clear legislation. Look, if you want to know what the difference of clear legislation and regulation will do, look at the size of the traditional markets today, hundreds and hundreds of trillions, some would say even quadrillions. And then look at this market that doesn't have regulatory clarity, 2.5 trillion. See, when you get that clarity, the rules to the road, then the institutional money will come in here and start blowing this space up. They know what they want to do. They know the benefits here. They don't want to be sued like everybody else is getting sued. And I don't really blame them. The day is going to come. It's going to come. We got some news throughout today. I want you to listen. Now, we've heard from Jenny Johnson, the CEO of Franklin Templeton, who is a huge fan of blockchain and crypto. And we know that they've been working and building off of Stellar. But I want you to hear what she says right here with the excitement and energy she brings to it.
Well, tell us more about innovation and how it's affecting Franklin Templeton. And let me pick out one thing specific, tokenization. You were early in on tokenization. Tell us where you're using it, how you're using it, why it works.
So first of all, I am a huge fan of blockchain and the technology. And we had the first SEC-approved money market fund, a 40-Act mutual fund. The SEC had us run the shareholder servicing system. We used to run our own in-house. We're one of the few firms that did. And the one that we built on blockchain. So these are the records of the shareholders. And we parallel processed for a period of 6 to 8 months. And we were astonished by how much less costly it was to run it on blockchain.
We parallel process for about 6 to 8 months. This is exactly the evidence that we've talked about and speculated on here, where I've said, you know, listen, all of these technology companies, Ripple and Stellar, when they're offering these tech stack improvements to these business models, you better bet your sweet ass that they're showing them simulation data that they run along parallel to their current payment rails and show them using the current daily volume numbers and showing them exactly the savings, what the cost effect would be to the asset they're using, and the whole bit. Or you don't get to be that company. And she just told you that is the process that goes on. And of course it is. But we have absolute evidence that that's exactly what goes on.
It's a very efficient technology.
That's right.
And we think it's going to open up a lot new investment opportunities. And honestly, eventually, I think ETFs and mutual funds are all going to be on blockchain. There's a huge cost in financial services to reconciling data between systems. And then once you reconcile it within your own firm, you then got to reconcile it with your counterparty. In the case of blockchain, there's only one source of truth. That transaction happens, everybody has the source of truth. And so that drives out a lot of costs. And when you can drive out the friction in a transaction, you can start to invest in new areas.
Start to invest in new areas of development. I mean, this is it. I mean, so, you know, to me, again, it's super exciting right here. And I love the idea that she's saying a lot of what we believe too, is that the traditional markets are going to be tokenized and put on blockchain. And she believes that ETFs and all ETFs and mutual funds, not just digital offerings, right, but all of them will be converted and moved onto blockchain. So do I. It's huge news. And then here's news from Standard Chartered introducing blockchain solution for, you guessed it, cross-border payments. On Partior here, imagine a world where the cross-border payments are effortless, efficient, and secure. Unlock the future with Standard Chartered. Take a quick listen here.
Sloppy control over working capital is hindering efficiency in cross-border payments and making your work more challenging.
We get it, how it saves it. I don't know if that music will get me a copyright strike, but I can't play it anymore. But that's it. But you get the point here. But I have something for you I can play, and it's this right here. I want you to listen to the gentleman from Standard Chartered CEO tell you exactly that digital assets are here to stay, and Ripple is what they've been testing. Look, and there will be multi-chain. So Partior may be what they use directly and then interact with XRP Ledger in some way and Ripple's products. Let's just take a listen.
We have countries like Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY. I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems, and using as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example, as a medium to affect real-time cross-border payments. And we learn through each one of these pilots, and we realize that these things can be cheaper and faster with lower settlement risk, which is a good thing for the system. If the underlying currency that you're using as a medium of exchange is unstable, Bitcoin, for example, very volatile, as we know, although it's also big and liquid. Finding the trade-offs so that the system can actually be safer and cheaper and more effective, and at the same time, suitable for the user who doesn't want to take any market risk or operational risk along the way.
Again, aligning with exactly what Jenny Johnson is saying from Franklin Templeton and telling you directly they've worked with Ripple. Standard Chartered, top 50 bank, you know what I mean? Understanding the idea that Ripple will continue to be U.S. domiciled and work close with regulators to ensure the success of the upcoming stablecoin on the XRP Ledger. Take a listen to this.
In the spotlight for a while and known for being a really good player when it comes to regulation. So,
yeah,
what are you? How do you approach it?
Look, I think as you said, Ripple has always tried to take a very compliance-first mindset, and that somewhat controversial in the earliest days of crypto. Ripple's been around for a while. We've always tried to partner with regulators, with governments around the world. We continue to do that, including some of the work we've done around central bank digital currencies. So, in moving forward with a U.S. dollar stablecoin, we have decided, early on, we are going to be U.S. domiciled in that effort. We're not going to try to, okay, that's not clear, let's do it offshore. And I do think we will probably see a stablecoin legislation in the United States pass, I'll say within the next year. I think the team at Circle has been doing a great job of providing leadership around that in the United States. In an election year of the United States between Trump and Biden, who knows what's going to happen. But I think before a crypto bill would pass in the United States, you'd see a stablecoin bill pass. Now, you already have seen leadership, and frankly, Europe is ahead of the United States for sure
when it comes to regulation.
When it comes to regulation, well, when it comes to a number of things, but regulation being one. And so, look, I don't think any bill that I have seen is necessarily perfect, but I think sometimes we can't let perfection be the enemy of forward progress.
That's innovation for sure.
Yeah.
And
There you go right there. And again, that aligns with what we discussed here on the channel. And it gives us more confirmation that, you know, they're not going to move out of the U.S. The announcement of doing a stable coin here and staying domiciled so they don't have the same issue that Tether has. Loving this for us. And I got to play this again because, you know, Anders made this point in another tweet. But he says here, this is big. Doesn't sound like on-demand liquidity is dead to me, nor does it to me, Anders. He also made the point, too, of think about how many financial institutions and banks are actually under NDAs because he cannot mention who the U.S. corporations and banks are using on-demand liquidity, using Ripple and Uphold's technology. How about that?
And the utility use case for us is incredibly important. And, you know, one of the best examples right now is Ripple and its payment network, which is helping big companies move money around the world. And we're one of the nodes in that network that allow them to convert crypto into fiat and then to pay out to banks in some of those corridors.
Wow. Now, Simon, I know you probably can't answer this question, but the audience is going to want me to ask anyway. Are there any names of institutions that you can name drop, or that's all under NDA?
I'm sorry, I can't. But what I can say is there's some very well-known names. So, you know, this is not like a fringe activity. There's some major corporations moving money this way. And I think it...
And there you have it right there, right? So this is massive. This is not like a fringe activity. There's some major corporations moving money this way. Like I said, we need legislation. We need clarity, regulatory clarity. Sorry about that. I wanted to show you this right here from EggRag Crypto. It's the Super Guppy cycle, top September 2024, 112 days. He says, I recommend revisiting the post from May 5th. This time is different, where the 21 EMA and the 55 MA on the 2-weekly time frame suggests potential cycle top might occur September 2024. The Super Guppy September 2024, it says here, a simple analysis from the day the Super Guppy turns green shows a cycle 1 took 287 days to cycle peak, and cycle 2 took 133 days. Comparing the current cycle 3, where the Super Guppy turned green in November of 2023, we find, A, we still have around 112 days until the potential cycle top if we follow pattern 1 of cycle 1. And it says, and B, cycle 2's time frame has passed, rendering this comparison invalid. So, can you handle the remaining 112 days should it go that far? Here's what he's talking about here. As you can see, cycle 1, 287 days. Cycle 2, 133 days. We've already passed that. So that cycle is invalid, basically, right? So will we be going by way of cycle 1? And if we do we see another breakout that looks like 2017 and 2018, but from here instead of here? Now that gets very, very interesting. And would it be something that we've never seen before if we do get things like stablecoin legislation, the introduction of a stablecoin on the XRP Ledger and Ethereum network, which we've never seen before, and then see institutional money come off the sideline in a way that we've never seen before? Could all of these things happen basically in the same window of time around the time we get to this place, right? The next 111, 12 days. I don't know the answer. I'm just glad I'm here to follow it because this is fascinating. And I truly am fascinated by all of this. But right now, you're going to be fascinated by something else. It's GameStop. We're going into the Freedom Zone today, and we're going to talk about what happened yesterday, and we're going to recap what happened originally. And it is an amazing story, and it is obviously not over. And we're about to unveil that for you inside the Freedom Zone. You can join us, digperspectives.com. Click the Freedom Zone and come on in. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you inside the Freedom Zone. All right, welcome back, everybody.